Welcome to session 3 of Project Management Professional Training. My name is Niladri, and let's start off right away. So session 3, we will focus on the project management fundamentals as we have done on session 2. The session 1 was all about the basics of PMP, how to go about the exam, and so on and so forth. So session 3 and session 4, we will spend on fundamentals, and then we will step into the project management processes. You might think that we are getting into too much of fundamentals, but I believe that this is the correct approach and this is the best approach, because once we really get into the subject deep inside, you will find that this fundamental discussion was so apt and so important for all of us. So we have seen so far what is a project, what's a program, what's a portfolio. We have also seen the roles of the people like project manager, sponsor, and then we have seen what stakeholders are and what are the different processes, the five golden process in the project management classic approach, or what we call the waterfall approach, which starts from initiating and then goes into planning and executing, monitoring, control, and closing. Now, in this session, we are going to talk about organization types. What are the different types of organization? And then a topic of OPA and EEF, which you are going to see very soon. And then talk about PMO, the Project Management Office, and followed by, we will get into PM processes, or rather, what happens prior to the 5 golden steps of the PM process. So let's dive in. Starting with organization types. Now, in an org type, if I want to classify, there are 3 kinds of org in the entire globe. One we call functional, one we call projectized, and one we call matrix. Now, functional means that there are functional departments across the company, like HR or accounts or finance and so on, right? And there may be projects happening within these departments. However, let's say the HR department wants to contact the finance, then the HR person who is doing the project, they will be contacting their head of the department. And from the head of the department will go to the finance head of the department. And then the communication channel flows. Okay. And the people who are into a functional kind of a org or in a vertical, they will be doing their daily job, their daily codes. And apart from that, they will be doing project work as well. Okay. Now, these kind of companies are rare and we call them silo. Just remember the word silo, because in exam questions, if you can find that apt word like silo or the catchphrase like silo, you will find that it's actually a functional company. Okay, so functional means that the people are working in silo, the communication channels are less, but the positive point is that the control is more. The functional head or the functional manager will be having the absolute control over the resources. Okay, and people don't have to have the fear of a job loss once the project is over. And that's exactly what happens when you come into a projectized company. So projectized means that the company is managed like a fully, project kind of approach, which means that uh, the people who are working in the project in the company, they will not be having a functional head. Okay, and once you are in the project, you will be reporting to a project manager. And once the project is over, or let's say terminated, then your job is at stake. Or so rather, you have to find a different project in the same company, or you have to find a job outside. Why? Because there is no home. The catchphrase here is called no home when we call about the projectized companies. No home means that the resources are not having a home there, which they were having comfortably in the functional companies. The most popular one to strike a balance between this functional and the projectized, the two extreme ends of the spectrum, is matrix. The matrix means that you will be having 2 managers. Now let's say that you are a network engineer in CIS, okay, and you're reporting to engineering manager, right? And you're also working in a day 1 site launch. So what's happening in the day 1 site launch, you're reporting to a TPM, okay, or a technical program manager. Now he is the program manager for that particular day 1 site launch, right? uh, so you will be having 2 managers, though you will be reporting directly to the functional manager, your engineering manager, but on dotted lines, you will be reporting to the project manager as well. And end of the day, once the project is over, let's say your day 1 site launch is over, you don't have to worry about a no home or something. You can easily sweep into maybe another day 1 launch or maybe another project where your skills are apt and your functional head will remain the same. If you want to apply for a leave, maybe most of the time in the matrix, the functional managers will talk in this line that if your PM is okay, I'm okay with it. Why? Because your actual day-to-day work is involved with a TPM or a PM, right? So if the PM is okay with your leaves or any breaks, then your functional manager is also okay with that most of the time, right? So matrix is where you're having two managers where the balance is striked between a projectized and a functional kind of a company. Now, matrix can be of three types: a strong matrix, a weak matrix, and a balanced matrix. Strong is where the PM part is stronger, where the PM is having more power than the functional manager. So in this case, is let's say in our org, what happens? Let's say, your yearly review is happening, right? That point of time, your functional manager may go to your TPM and say, any feedback about this person, right? We do a feedback, right? But if it's a strong PM, okay, a strong PM will be having more control there in your reviews and everything. Here we do take a feedback, but in a strong matrix, the PM will be having more control on that. Okay, just not a feedback. A weak means that the PM is weak here and the functional is having more control or power on the resources. So strong means that the PM can actually take them off the project any point of time. Weak means that the functional manager will be having more power, which basically means that the PM will be acting like a coordinator. Okay, and the balanced is the most optimum sweet spot where we find that both the functional manager and the project manager, they will be having a kind of a optimum balance, and they will be sharing the power, and they will be also having a good strike, a good kind of connection amongst themselves to ensure that the resource is having a positive experience, the work is going well, and they both are aligned together. Okay, so that's all about the matrix. In PMP exam, if it is not mentioned, always ensure that they are talking about a matrix environment. And if they want to mention, they will mention it like functional or silo or no home or projectized. But if they have not mentioned, then by default, it will be a matrix balanced most of the cases. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about OPA and EEF. Enough of jargons, right? So let's see what these guys are. So OPA is nothing but organization process assets. So any kind of internal process or procedures or any policies or any knowledge repositories or any kind of data which is saved inside the company, okay, that will be called a OPA, which is the organization internal process asset. And I will talk about it, why it is so critical. And then we are getting into something called EEF, which stands for Enterprise Environmental Factors, which means these are like similar to OPA, but these are not in control of the project team. So these are all like environmental factors. And the internal EEF can be, so there are two types of EEF. One is internal, one is external. The internal can be the culture, the geographical location of the org. Let's say the company is based out in some part in Asia, or let's say China or India, or some part in US or UK. So the culture will not be the same, right? And that's not in control of the project team, right? It's a pretty much hybrid kind of people are working there. But like I said, there are certain factors which are not in control of the project team, and they can be internal or external as well. And external means to say that some governmental rules are there, some compliance is there, some regulations are there, again, which are not in your control. Okay, now the question is that why do we know or need to know anything about OPA and EF, and why do I care, right? So as a project manager, you must be very well versed about the OPA and the EEF, both of them. Why? Number one is that you will be knowing more about the constraints. So in any project, there will be some constraints, and we also call them risk, and we come up with a response strategy. We'll come to that in detail. But if you do not know the constraints in your project path, you will not be able to plan out the project roadmap properly. So if you know the constraints that, okay, I would like to build this product, or I'm going into, let's say, day one site launch. And for that, do I have all the processes and the knowledge base and the wikis and everything in place? If all is in place, great. then I'm good, right? If there is a miss, I mean, I don't have a documentation there, let's say, or I do not have the appropriate, or the content is legacy, then I'm in problem. Then I have to ensure that those documents are updated as quickly as possible, because, or they are created, because my project team will need them on a day in, day out basis, right? That's one. EF is because, let's say that I don't know, or I don't know from which corner of the globe most of the folks of my team are there. Okay. And in that way, I will not be knowing the labor laws of different places, and you have to know that, and you have to appreciate that, and you have to respect that, right? I remember a couple of years, not couple of years back, I think probably uh, 10 years back, maybe, when I was working in Cisco. That point of time, I remember that one of the project I was doing, and one person, he was from a location. I think he was from Dubai, and I was not knowing that the Dubai guys, they actually work on a Friday, Saturday, and they take a leave on a Sunday, or rather, sorry, they work from Sunday. So Friday, Saturday is a weekend for them, and Sunday is a working day for them, right? Their week starts from Sunday. And there was a cadence in my team, or the weekly cadence used to happen at Monday and Friday. And I, when I listened to this person, he told, no, I really have to step out, and we had a 1:1. Then I understood, and then I told, okay, fine, I will shift my cadence to a Thursday or a Wednesday, but definitely not on a Friday when the person needs to go for his weekend. So these are the various things you have to know, which are not in your control, but you must be aware of. You may not be able to change them, because they will be as it is, but you should must be knowing about them. Gives a lot of strength in your planning for the project. Okay. Government rules, you really cannot do much about them, right? Maybe you're working in a finance project, and you definitely have to know what are the local taxation laws, and how the laws apply to different states in the same country, or different countries, and so on, right? So if you are not knowing them, it will be so difficult for you to navigate through the project. So these two things, OPA and EEF, they are something which are critical for a project success. All right. And OPA, also the responsibility of the PM is to build the OPA. So if you remember, at the closing stage, we'll talk about it, but at the closing stage of the project, one of the activity a PM does is to document the lessons learned. Now, these lessons learned, they should be archived in a company, or in a or common folder, where the future PMs can log into, or they can have an access to that document, and they will be knowing, so that no surprises are there, or no hidden surprises are there for them, and they can navigate through their projects in a nice way. So that's all about OPA and EEF, and you will hear these terms a lot once we go through or deep dive into the core process areas of the PM. All right, now let's come down to PMO. So you might have heard about PMO, right? Project Management Office. So what is that? So Project Management Office is nothing but it is a department in an organization, okay, and who actually, they are a kind of a lighthouse to the project management best practices. They are the guidelines. I mean, they ensure that the project management best practices are being followed in the organization, and they help the project managers in various ways. Now, what are the ways? Again, they are of three types: supportive, controlling, or directive. Supportive is they have got a low level of control on the projects, and the way they support the PMs is that by building templates. Maybe your change management templates, they are building it. I mean, in my past to past company, I remember that the PMO team was sharing all the templates with us as the infra managers. Okay. And then controlling is a moderate level of control, like not only sharing the templates with you, but also training the PMs and giving them guidance, and ensuring that the projects are coming out of their risk, or their red health status. Okay, all kind of guidance has been given in controlling. Directive is a very high level of control. Directive means that the PMO takes the final call. Okay, so directive is the PMO is going to hire the PMs, and not only the PMO will hire the PMs. If you, as let's say a program manager or a portfolio manager, you want to have a PM for a particular project, you have to reach out to the PMO, and the PMO will be having certain PMs in their stack, Some of them will be on bench, and they will be ready to get into or plugged into any project. And you have to share the details that what you need at least a time span of say 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 6 weeks ahead. And as per the guidelines, they will plug in a PM into your project as per the required skills of the project. Now, more than that, remember that there are two things. This is again coming to the question piece of the PMP. There are two things which happens, which is there with PMO. One is that when a project is terminated in the middle of the journey, let's say something happens, and we'll come to the deep dive why the projects are being terminated, under what conditions a project can be phased out or exited. Those kind of phases or those kind of situations, the PMO gives a recommendation. Okay, mainly the companies where the PMOs are in the controlling or in the directive way, they are in those companies. The portfolio managers or the program managers will be reach out, and they will be recommending this project should be terminated or not terminated. And why do you think that happens? Because these PMOs are mostly highly influential and impactful stakeholders who have got a more clarity on the current roadmap of the company, and how the vision, mission, and the org goal strategy is matching. And then they will say, okay, this project, I think maybe it is kind of giving you loss now, or it may not earn any revenue in the next 1 or 2 years, but still it is a perfect fit for what the org dreams to be in the future, or what the org's vision is. And then they will say, okay, you should not be terminating it, or probably you should terminate. Okay, and they also participate, like most of the members, and this again I have seen that in my past to past company. Now when I refer to my past to past company, my past company was Boeing, and past to that I used to work in IBM. And in IBM I have really seen very strict project management practices are followed, along with a PMO in place and all that stuff. And I also have seen that the PMO members, they actually used to participate in the change control board. Now you may ask, like, what is a change control board? So we'll come to that. So change control board, just on a high level, it's actually one of the committee which you can say. And whenever you need a project baseline change, okay, or let's say any change in the scope of the project while the project is running, then you have to go to the change control board. Okay, and then the change control board will hear out your case, and then they will say, okay, this approved, this looks good, or they will say it is denied because this doesn't look like this change is going to add any value, and it's going to waste more of your time and your dollars. Okay, so that's about it. PMO concept. Exam point of view, you may not be having too many questions on PMO, but probably one or two. But at least know what PMO is and what are the types of the PMO. The most of the types of the PMO which I have seen is supportive. I've never worked in an org where PMOs are like directive, but controlling I have seen, and supportive I have seen. Most of the time it is supportive. The PMO is kind of a support or a lighthouse for the organization. All right. Now let's go back to PM process, project management process, right? This is something, the beautiful slide, which I will keep on sharing with you every now and then, maybe in every lesson we will go through this. So we have seen that, right? In the last module, I have taken you through this: initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing. And these are the 5 process groups. At a high level, what happens in initiation? Initiation, what goes on is that the project manager is assigned, and a couple of other pretty good stuff happens, which I'm going to talk about, okay, later on. Planning is like the name says, the planning happens. Now, planning means what? Planning of the scope, planning of the schedule, planning of the cost, planning of risk management, communication management. A little bit of the stakeholder management happens in the initiation phase itself. And few of these, that 10 process groups, which I showed a slide to you last time in my last session, like scope, time, cost, integration, stakeholder, HR, procurement. Now, each of these process groups, they will cut across through this. I mean, each of those knowledge groups will actually cut across through these 5 process groups. Don't get confused now. I will show you a good flow chart in the upcoming modules, where you will know that what I'm talking about. So there are 5 process groups, and in the 5 process groups, these knowledge areas will cut across. So stakeholder management starts right from initiation and completes in the closing. right? And then there are other knowledge areas which will start from planning and close in monitoring and control. Let's say scope, cost, time, those kind of stuff, right? Now, this is where, like you heard me, that when the PM is assigned in the initiation, then probably I should start all of my work from the initiation itself, right? And I don't really care about what happened prior to initiation, right? So that's not a correct approach, or not, that's not a correct mindset. I will talk about it in detail. But before that, let's go through the other process groups at a high level. So initiation, we spoke about. Planning, we spoke about. Execution is something where you are going to execute the plan. Okay. And to your disbelief now, okay, you may not believe it, but as per PMP, the hiring happens in execution stage. Okay, so your hiring happens, your work as per the plan happens, your performance management, all that stuff you check. Um, and monitoring control goes hand in hand with execution. So are you meeting the key parameters? Your performance metrics are being met or not? Is there a change in the baseline? And your change control board will sit on monitoring and control that particular process. Change control board is a good topic for the PMP exam, and we'll try to spend some good time on it, because there are questions with variations which always comes on change control board, and you know they are tricky questions. So you have to know the change control board concept very, very clear. Finally, closing, when your deliverables are met, your acceptance criteria is met, whatever you planned out, they all has been done, and you hand over the project, you do the lessons learned, and you celebrate. That's all. So we'll go through each of this process pretty deep, okay? And let's start off first of all. What happens before initiation? Now, this part is something where uh, let me give you the disclaimer here, okay? As a project manager, you will be not having any visibility of what is happening before initiation of the project, okay? You may be having some visibility if it's a medium priority or a low priority project where the dollar value spent will be less. Maybe if you're a senior project manager or a program manager, then definitely you will be having the visibility. But as a project manager in your early stages, you may not be having the visibility of whatever happens prior to initiation. So your question might be that, why do I care? Okay. The point is, every project manager must know why this project has been selected by the company. So before the initiation stage happens, the project selection stage happens. And why you need to know that? See, a project can be selected for various reasons. It can be that the VP of the company, a very influential stakeholder, will be telling, I would like this project to happen, right? So the project happens. Or it can be that the company wants to enter a new market and want to penetrate a new audience group. And for them, the project has to happen. Or maybe it's just a requirement from the local government body or the security compliance, and you must have this project to meet the compliance. Okay, there can be various reasons, or it might be that the company is not having much budget for this year, and they are choosing the least value project to pick up from. Now, how these projects are being coming into the vertical or in the funnel. So if you remember, I told you on the top of the company, the very topmost layer, the strategy part, there we have got the mission, the vision, and the goals of the company, right? And then it flows downwards with portfolio, program, and project. Now, every department in the company who are having portfolio managers, let's say, or senior people, they will be flooding their department heads or the finance with multiple projects, right? And then normally in a company at a very high level, there is a project selection committee. Every company may not have that, but there are different kinds of companies. Level 5, like a very high level company, will definitely be having a project selection committee, and they will check that if the project matches with the mission, vision, and the strategy of the company, one. And two is that, does the company have got the sufficient budget to fund the project? That's very important. Okay, because I might choose like only one project and all my budget is depleted for that, and I don't have money left out for the remaining nine requests. That is not a good way to go, because I'm putting all the eggs in one basket. Rather, if I'm an intelligent guy or a wise guy, I will try to put my eggs in multiple baskets, and I will try to go through multiple projects, especially the product based companies, because then even one product fails, you have got nine other to lean upon. So basically, uh, your success of the project or the product is depending, again, that's got a linear relation with the share price of the company, brand image of the company, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a very careful kind of a decision. How the selection is made is not based on gut feeling. Okay, definitely not a gut feeling. So there are multiple selection methods for that. And I just called out a few of them on the slide, but there are much more than that. And each of these are mathematical methods. Okay, some of them will need some expert opinion. But let's talk about return on investment. ROI is a very popular method, because I want to check if I'm investing $100 on this project, am I going to get back 110 after 6 months, or 120 after 1 year, or 200 after 1 year? I have to check on that. If I'm not getting that, then probably I'm not going to invest. And how do we check that? There are various ways on that. Expert opinions, there are market experts, and the core committee will decide on that. Then we have got something called internal rate of return. It's more like a bank. Like I put my money in the bank and the bank gives me 1% return. Some banks give me 5%, and I will probably go for the 5%. But then again, that's not the only thing to consider. I mean, sometimes a bank can promise you 5% or 6% of return annually, but the risk is higher. They may put your money into the market, and the market may dissolve, and you may not get your money back. Those cases happen, right? The bankruptcy happens. So point is, internal rate of return might be higher, but again, the company looks into multiple things like stability and so on and so forth of that particular concept. We also have got something called a cost benefit analysis. Again, looks like simple, but mathematics says that as per the cost, how much benefit I'm getting. And the benefit always may not be a tangible one. The benefit may be a brand image as well. Okay, opportunity cost. So opportunity cost means that if I leave this project, then how much money I gain. That's a good way to pick up projects. Okay, on one project I'm spending, $100. On another I'm spending 120. If I pick up the $100 one, which is equally good as the $120, then I'm saving $120. Right. So that also a way to look at things with a different kind of eyes. Questions on this will not come in the PMP exam, okay? Because like I said, these are before the initiation. So anything before the initiation, uh, there is a very meek chance that you will get a question. Even if the questions come, they will be very simple, straightforward. Like a question something like this: an org has got two projects from which to choose. Project A with the internal rate of return will be 40, and project B with internal rate of return is 20%. What to choose? And you just blindly say project A because it's 40%. Things are not so simple in real life, right? I mean, it's just not about IIR. Like I said, risk is there, volatility is there, so many things are there. But yeah, for the exam point of view, simple, straightforward questions can come, but chances are very less that any questions will come based on project selection. Okay. But it's always good to know, because as a PM, if you are not knowing why the project was being selected, then probably you will close the project, you will end it, but still the acceptance criteria will not meet. I mean, you will close the project on budget and on time, but still the acceptance criteria may not be matching, because you may not be knowing that this was one of the most highly visible project for the company, right? And that's why we say that the project selection, a PM must know that why this project was being selected. Now, let's come back to CIS. CIS, what we do, if you are a delivery TPM, okay, then on top of the TPM slab, we actually have got the intake TPMs, right? And the intake TPM guys, they actually roll out and they do all the game plans. And finally, they push the projects into different verticals, comes to a manager who pushes to the team as per the capacity planning and the bandwidth of the team, right? But, beyond that, you know try to check out like why this project was chosen. You can always have a talk with your manager. Okay, day one, it's simple. Day one means that we are expanding, new employees are coming, new labs will be created, new dimensions we are looking forward, or we are trying to place our foot in a new country, let's say New Zealand or Thailand or somewhere, right? But that's that's one of the common aspects of a day one. But what about other complicated projects? Other, let's say, somebody wants to open Prime Video Lab in some location. Then why did we choose that? Try to ask that questions to your manager. If you're not getting the proper answers, trust me, if you get the answers, it will give you more knowledge uh, to ensure that that the project is a success, right? Because you will be knowing the visibility there and also the constraints as well. So project selection, you may not be having the total visibility, but it's always must for a PM to know why that project has been selected. Okay, like I said, for day one it's easy, but if it's not a day one, then you have to find it out. Okay, next steps. Couple of things. Okay, one is PM roles and responsibilities. This is something which I would like you to go through your reference book or hard copy book and go through it and find it out. What are the roles and responsibilities of a PM? Few we have discussed, few we will discuss throughout the course, but I think this is one of the tasks which you can set for yourself to try to know what a PM actually does. There will be many bullet points, okay, when you talk about roles of a PM, but then try to phrase it out in an elevator pitch, in a 5 seconds statement that, you know, what a PM or what's the core job of a project manager. Okay, I will tell you the answer. Not right now, probably after a couple of sessions, but try to find the answer yourself. Okay, and as usual, if you have not yet, then start off your PMP exam application process. It's very simple. You don't have to really click on the submit button. Like I said, it's a dynamic site. You go there, you fill in whatever you know, and if you have got any problem, you're stuck, you can definitely engage with me. I will help you. Trust me, do not submit if, I mean, it's always good to have it submitted after somebody with some experience has viewed your application, because the application matters. It's not like a simple application. You just give your name and certain details and submit and boom, and it's all approved. It will not happen like that. PMI people, they really look into your application with a different lens with the PMIs. And if there is a diversion or they have got a doubt, then it's a problem. Either it's rejected, and if it's a clear, I mean, a corner case, then they will ask for a kind of an audit. And the audit is a painful process. Again, you have to, I mean, especially if you're giving experience from multiple companies, then you have to go to your past company managers and get the written stuff from them. So instead of doing all that, write the application in a nice way, in a lucid way, get it clarified by someone, not necessarily it's only me. You may be having other PMP friends, that's okay. But get it clarified and then click on the button submit. It gives you 3 months time to put it in the draft mode. So don't worry, the time is not running. And that's why it's one of the first steps you should be doing when you have chalked out a plan for getting PMP certification. A quick wrap up. The organizations are of three types. We have discussed it: functional, projectized, and matrix. Functional is silo, and projectized is no home, and matrix is kind of well balanced. You have got two managers. OPA and EF, we have spoken about it. The processes and the knowledge base or the environmental factors which a PM must be knowing. And that will help him or her to determine the constraints. PMOs, we have spoken about it, three types: supportive, controlling, and directive. And supportive and directive are the extreme ends of the spectrum. And a project manager is selected in the initiation stage. Yeah, that's something you must be knowing, and you have to know this. When a project manager is assigned, he or she is assigned in the project initiation stage. But what is the means? That we will talk in the next lesson, how the project manager is assigned and what is that document called where the name of the project manager is printed. All right. I hope you enjoyed the session. I wish you all a great day and a great time. Cheers. Thank you.